But I remember being in college at a party. I was 19 years old and standing on like the patio of the house party. Talking to a girlfriend. That's where she lived. And she explained that her dad bought the house and she was renting out the rooms to our friends. And I'm like, and you get to keep that money? That is the best idea I've heard in my entire life. So that at 19, the seed was planted of must be real estate investor. But I wanted to hold for the long term. I didn't want to just be flipping. And it was easier when it was just men. In the same way that the community here is easier when it's just women to talk about some things, right? So in 2020, they looked up and they realized, oh wait, women need this too. And I joined as a member then. And they wanted to make it for women by women. That's when they approached me and asked me to serve as leader. So since the end of 2022, I've been serving as CEO of the organization.
Wow.
That is amazing. Hola, ¿qué tal? Estamos en un episodio más de Real Estate Talks. Muchas gracias por sintonizarnos una vez más. Y bueno, ahorita seguimos en las conferencias que les comentábamos en otros episodios. Esta es una conferencia anual que se hace de mujeres en real estate. Y pues encontramos a muchas personas que quisimos entrevistar y por eso queremos traer toda esta comunicación y toda esta información a ustedes.
Así es, estamos aquí muy contentas. ¿Qué tal, Gaby? ¿Por qué no presentas a nuestra invitada que tenemos el día de hoy? Va a ser en inglés, pero creemos que vale la pena.
Claro que sí, estamos aquí con Mandy McAllister.
Yes.
Okay, did I say it right?
Yes,
okay.
Exactly. Por supuesto.
Okay. Thank you, Mandy, so much for being here. Mandy is a mentor as a part of the organization, the Investor, and we just wanted to share all the expertise that you have in real estate. And you energy, like everything that you bring into the table, you are amazing, and we wanted to have the audience to listen to your story as well.
Lovely. Thank you for this invitation. It's so lovely. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, Andy. Last night we were talking about how you love multifamily. I've shared with you that I'm a multifamily investor too, and I love that conversation. I just thought we could share this with our audience, and also before getting into that, if you can tell us a little bit about your background and what brought you to what you're doing today.
Absolutely. Yes. I've spent the bulk of my career in medical device sales. And a punchline to my life is that I didn't go to medical school because I didn't want to be on call. Right. And I ended up ascending the ladder of medical device sales such that I was on call. So the thing I was trying to avoid, I didn't. So I had bought some real estate. I started buying a fourplex roughly 10 years ago or so right before my son was born. And I realized that right off the bat that a fourplex. That was in Chicago? That was it was about 2 hours away from Chicago by Illinois State University. Okay. And I realized pretty quickly that it wasn't at its highest and best use. Right, so it was being rented vacant to anybody off the street for $400 or something.
When was that?
In Normal, Illinois.
When? What year?
2015. Okay. Roughly. And, we were able to put the bed and the desk and make it a furnished rental for the students, and we got $850 instead of $450.
Wow, you doubled the rent.
Right, so it's highest and best use. So what is this piece of property being used for, and what could I possibly use it for? And especially when you get the immediate scale of having, either a residential multifamily or moving into the bigger stuff, it's much more powerful.
But before that, what was your experience before that? How did you just jump into that?
So my dad's a farmer. My mom owned a small company on the farm in central Illinois. So like the self-employed parent thing, I think really fed into it's in my bones, But I remember being in college at a party. I was 19 years old and standing on like the patio of the house party. Talking to a girlfriend. That's where she lived. And she explained that her dad bought the house. And she was renting out the rooms to our friends. And I'm like, and you get to keep that money? That is the best idea I've heard in my entire life. So that at 19, the seed was planted of must-be real estate investor. I didn't really do anything with it until I was 35, though.
Wow. And then from that, you bought like a student living, or we can make it a student living type of thing. And then from there, you were like, okay, this is my niche, and you stay with it. Tell us a little more.
What I realized that I loved was this automatic scale. That, one transaction got me this opportunity that if somebody moved out, I wasn't 100% vacant. I was still bringing in
You were still receiving money.
Exactly.
Flow,
Yep. So then I wanted to put some jet fuel behind that. And I bought a 6-plex and then an 11 and then really dived into what really optimizes this multifamily stuff. And then as soon as I found agency debt, this opportunity to put lending on something that's backed by the government, that's non-recourse, so I'm not personally liable, that, my master's is economics, so I felt like that was the actual asset. The loan, when we could get it at 3%, was the actual asset. So I tried to get as much of that debt on these larger deals as possible.
Oh, wow. Are you still keeping those deals? So when you got them at 3%, was the exit strategy to just get them, like upscale them on profit and then sell them? Or you bought them thinking, I'm going to keep it because I have it at 3%. And as you say, the loan is that asset itself.
So in the middle of this whole real estate journey for me, I got divorced. So I was a single mom, right? And this idea of I wanted a floor of income. Yeah, if you're syndicating largely, and Lala and I talked about this a little last night, is if you buy something and you make it nicer and you sell it and it's a single family, you call that a flip. If you do that in multifamily, you call that a syndication, right? So what I wanted was this floor of income and to use the power of multifamily and the loans available to me, which in my opinion is how the rich get richer, those types of loans. But I wanted to hold for the long term. I didn't want to just be flipping these properties. So I found a couple of like-minded people who wanted to buy and hold for the long term rather than syndicate out these deals.
That's why we started talking last night. Because that's actually my next subject.
Yes, exactly.
So I banded arms with these guys and we put on 12-year Fannie Mae loans to ride out into the sunset. So I really love a multifamily property that has what I call no construction risk value add. So it's really a management play. So can I increase the NOI? So if your net operating income, what is the after running the property, how much income do I have left over? And you can increase that, like the value add strategy means increase the NOI, right? And you can do that by completely rehabbing kitchens and doing a complete overhaul, or
efficiencies in operations.
And it can be efficiencies in operations, and then you don't take on the construction risk. So I love the NOI boosting things that don't have that associated construction risk.
Like in your first one, that you added desk and beds, and then that became the student living.
Poof, you can collect more income.
And what's your number? Like, what number of apartments do you like to buy? What size?
Sure. So I found that, if you listen to all the multifamily gurus,
like above 100.
Yeah. If you buy, like, they will push you to buy 100 units and more. And there is truth to it. They'll tell you to do that because you're collecting enough money, the income monthly, to be able to afford a full-time property manager on your deal. And there really is a lot of brain space that comes back to you if you have a full-time set of eyes on something. Well, something that I've figured out is, by accident, is that if I buy a 50-unit property, I don't have the funds to afford somebody full-time, but I do afford having them on site half of the time. So I don't get Susan to solve all my problems Monday through Friday, but I get Susan to solve my problems Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And that is a real game changer.
Mandy, I want to shift a little bit the conversation, or maybe, I'm sure it's related. So how did you start your mentorship, your Go Abundance, how would you call it, program? Yeah. So, I saw such value when I wanted to go from 4 units to 40. I wanted to add a 0, and I didn't want to do it alone because I knew if I was going to make a mistake, I needed somebody standing next to me who had done it, right? So I joined a program then, and I saw so much value from it. And then I was actually at a multifamily event in 2017, and a guy told me, I just joined Go Abundance. But yes, it's about financial freedom, but it's about so much more than that. How connected are your relationships? Are you giving back in a way that feels amazing? How is your health? Are you going on adventures? And I'm like, these are my people.
I know. I look at that exactly around that time. But to my surprise, it was for men only.
And at that moment, it was for men only. And then roughly 2020.
Why?
So, I believe
How
I'm
can
not.
there be like men only?
This conference is women only.
Yes.
It's just sometimes about being vulnerable, and there's a different approach. It's just valid.
I believe I'm not a person I'm not a woman who's normally okay being left out of the conversation because of my gender. And I believe in my heart that these guys just felt a lot of growth happening because of their willingness to get vulnerable. And it was easier when it was just men, in the same way that the community here is easier when it's just women to talk about some things, right? So in 2020, they looked up and they realized, oh, wait, women need this too. And I joined as a member then.
Okay.
And then I bought my way out of my W-2 because of all of the apartment buildings I was buying. I could afford that floor of income to not need that job. And they wanted to make it for women by women. And that's when they approached me and asked me to serve as leader. So since the end of 2022, I've been serving as CEO of the organization.
Wow.
That is amazing. From all men to having a CEO woman.
Yeah, well, yes. So Go Abundance Women is now for women by women. And we're really proud of the ability to lean into intuition and bring to the table the feminine energy stuff that makes business incredible and really adds to the conversation. So it's a really neat thing to get to experience.
That's great, but you didn't stop there. Then you also are a mentor for this organization,
Yeah.
Investor.
I believe so much in impact. Like the purpose of my life is to provide impact and inspiration to all those people around me. And I believe that you get two arms for a reason. One, to pull yourself up, yes, but another to pull people up along with you.
I love that.
And a thing that I believe about the human psyche that is the most annoying is that you don't believe something can happen until you see it happen. And lots of times you don't believe it can happen for someone like you. Exactly, the Roger Bannister thing. You don't believe something can happen for someone like you until you see someone like you also doing it.
That's part of why Gabby and I started this podcast a year ago, because we were seeing that there was lack of the Hispanic community getting content in Spanish or directed to them, or even the Hispanic community or the Latin American community that wanted to invest in the U.S. and no one was talking to them. And we believe in that, reaching out and, helping each other out.
And knowledge is power. Knowledge is potential power, right? So the opportunity for anyone to come across things. Like, it's the beauty of technology, right? Everything is so accessible in a way that it wasn't before. You just have to put in the effort to go find it.
And
so kudos
after
to
the
you.
knowledge, then goes the action.
Exactly.
So where are you taking action right now? Like, what are you doing right now? What are you working on?
So, something, being a multifamily investor, the thing that is my criteria is Class B, boring markets like Indianapolis. That's what I love. And I want it on agency debt forever. Right? That is forever going to be the way that I build wealth.
With the rates that are high?
Yes, and nothing works right now for the things that I'm trying to buy. And the beauty of the way that I've set up my portfolio that I own with me, just me, or me and a couple of friends, is I don't have to do a deal. One thing that I saw my people who I grew up in multifamily with that syndicated, one friend told me, all I have to do is 4 deals a year and then I can quit my job. And I thought, oh my God, what happens if you can't find 4 doable deals? Like, how are you going to feed your kids? Like, that makes me so nervous, right? So the floor of income comes in no matter what. And if I need to sit on my hands, I still live my big, beautiful life. I'm keeping my ear to the ground and I'm adding impact where that makes sense. But one thing that I've learned from GoBundance specifically is we do this call that, it's the tribe of millionaires. So everybody coming in has $1 million net worth. But if you want to grow that net worth to, 10 million, 20 million, 100 million, looking at the patterns, we do this call that really helps someone dissect how did you get to $100 million net worth? Because sometimes what got you here won't get you there. And I love looking at those patterns so that I can recreate it, because I'm not the first one to try to do anything. Right? And time again, the people who make it to 10, 100, 500 million, they do it not with just real estate, they do it with a business interest. And so because of this knowledge, I decided, I'm not seeing anything multifamily worth doing. Let's really investigate this other niche and build that up. So I wanted to buy something that was real estate heavy, because that's the language that I speak, and I had 1031 exchange dollars that I wanted to put to work. I mean, I'm not one born yesterday, and I wanted a business that didn't have a ton of employees, because I knew from my days working on sales teams that it's the human capital that's the hardest to really predict what's going on. And I knew, like, I had done a motel deal before, because that's very business-ish rather than real estate specific play. I saw that when things went wrong, I wanted to be there. And I was a 6-hour drive from that motel. And I wanted this new business that I was going to go into to be something with close enough proximity to where I live in the Chicago suburbs that I can get there if I need to. So what that meant, what those 3 criteria led me to, were either a car wash or a laundromat. And looking at the things available in Chicagoland, the laundromats were all in strip malls that I had no control over the real estate. I couldn't improve the look of the outside, but the car washes I was finding were standalone.
Yes.
So I was able to find a car wash, and we closed in December of last year.
I was just in the last conference where one of the panelists was talking about it, and I didn't know it was even different types of car washes.
Right. Yes. Well, I'll tell you, she was specifically talking about these big tunnels, and to construct a tunnel that you put your car in neutral and it brings you through, and it all of the rag things hit your car. That is $3-4 million to build. Well, there's also these self-service coin-operated things that are they are 24 hours. So all we really need to have serviced is the taking out the trash and making sure that things look nice for a couple hours a day. So we bought this self-service kind of spray bays, we call them, and it come to find out it's like buying a Class A, like the beautiful everything is included apartment building, or a Class C. There's a need for both.
Yes.
But to build the Class C type, nobody's building a Class C building. People build Class A.
New ones.
They don't build Class C. So I found this 7-bay, it's 5 spray bays and then 2 in-bay automatics. And there is still a need for these spray bays because, think about it. If you work in landscaping and you have a truck, you can't go through a tunnel and expect to get the bed of that truck clean. You have to come to,
manually do it.
Manually do it. And some people that their job is blue collar and they work with their hands. They want to work with their hands to clean their own car. So Coin-based, yeah. Well, we also have the equipment to accept credit cards and tap. I've been experimenting or actually just bought the equipment to start with subscriptions, because I think subscriptions, the set it and forget it type thing is where the world's going, and that's what we're going to do in our business.
And that's how you can actually build a business and then sell it, because you have all these subscribers that are already income, like promised income for the future.
Yes, I also think that just when comparing real estate and business, and real estate, again, mind you, is my end game. If I'm going to buy a multifamily at a 4 cap, its value is NOI, value of a property is NOI divided by a cap rate. So if I want to buy $1 of NOI, $1 of that cash flow at a 4 cap, it's going to cost me $25. Right? But if I want to buy a car wash, I would buy that for 3x EBITDA, $3 for every dollar of cash flow. So it's much cheaper to buy the business dollar of cash flow. And if I want to double my top line revenue every single year, I can't do that with my apartment building.
No, you can't.
It's simple. Yeah.
I operate beauty salons in Mexico.
Oh, perfect.
We're opening
Exactly.
the 5th one next month. Thank God. I haven't told you about that right
No.
now. I just sent the money for that 15 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago.
Oh, beautiful.
Yes.
But there is an opportunity to if you manage a business properly and you market it and bring in the right people, you do have an opportunity to double and triple that income you bring in month over month, year over year for years to come.
But when you bought it, you bought the business and the land.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like McDonald's.
That was gonna be my question. I remember when I went to business school 15 years ago, there was a class that was called Buying a Small Business, and I remember. So, how did you find the right person? Was it a distressed seller? Did you get it through a broker or?
So one of the beauties of buying business stuff that's happening right now, and this is honestly all the rage in GoBundance Women, because most of the real estate stuff isn't penciling like it used to.
Because 15 years ago, we talked about car washes and laundromats because of cash flow.
Yes, exactly. Well, now these small businesses, if you look at the baby boomers, the largest ever population, the largest ever generation, they are retiring in droves, and they own the bulk of the businesses that exist in the United States.
And there's not a succession plan.
They're
and their kids don't want to take over the business, or their kids want to go and live in Africa or Europe or whatever. And there's no one.
They're calling it the silver tsunami. So the man that I ended up buying from, he was, 70 something, and he was having some eye problems, and he didn't want to have to deal with this business, even though it was tremendously cash flowing.
And probably it was already obsolete in technology, and you can just change a couple of things.
He was tired. He'd been operating it 18 years.
He just wanted to cash out.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
It is. That's how I view, my family history. We recently sold a business, and it's like, okay, when you're emotionally attached to a business, it's so hard, especially those type of businesses. But at the end of the day, this is something my father told the family. Like, it's just a cash out. It's just like, and that's something I admire about Americans. Because Latin America,
we are so attached, they're like a multi-generation. We don't want, even houses. In Mexico, you don't leave your house. You pretty much grow up in it and live there forever.
In your lifelong house. And you build thinking about it. It's,
Yeah, you go to Tampico and you can still visit Lala, the same place I visited her when she was 3. I mean, like, it's the same house, the same place, but here in the States, we're like, let's move to the next one. 7 years, let's move to the next one.
So going back, so how did you find this person? Through a broker?
Honestly, this was listed on Biz by Sell. Okay. Like this, I was going through brokers. I was like driving around looking at car washes. It happened to be that the one that I found to buy was listed on Biz by Sell.
Hasn't operations driving you crazy?
I'll say you don't know what you don't know. And one thing that I've learned from getting into this game, because remember, I was like, must get into real estate investing at 19 and did nothing with it until 35. But when I realized I didn't die, when I made a little bet, then I just learned from it, right? So the purchase price was $475,000, and where my portfolio is at right now, that felt like a really little bet. And I knew I could screw up a bunch of different times, and it wasn't going to really.
And you have someone doing the operations.
Well, it's mostly run by itself. We only have an attendant. Okay. Well, we only have an attendant on site for a couple hours a day. I like to work in things so that I can fully understand them and then get the operator in place.
That's why it's more multifamily.
Yes, it's not my forever plan, but if I don't understand what's happening or the verbiage around the pump broke, then I'm not going to fully be able to participate as an owner, and I really want to have my hands in it. Maybe it's the farm kid in me, but that's been my approach.
No, it's learning by doing. I agree. Well, Mandy, I know you're heading to a meeting right now. Yes. I really appreciate your time. Thanks for being here with us.
She told me she's coming back to Austin in October. So
GoBundance Women is doing an event in Austin.
Hopefully we can record again in
our
absolutely. Nice studio. We have a super nice studio. This is just like a pop-up thing that we
our hair.
But we're Latinos. We make it happen.
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much for coming.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
This is Gaby Proctor.
Y yo soy Lala Elizondo.
Y esto fue Real Estate Talks. Si llegaste hasta aquí es porque te gustó la información y estás interesado en invertir en real estate en Estados Unidos.
Para esto hemos creado un entrenamiento que te va a simplificar este camino, ya sea que seas un inversionista por primera vez o que seas un inversionista sofisticado.
En la descripción de este episodio está la liga que te llevará a este entrenamiento.
O bien búscanos en Instagram como @invierte con Lala y Gaby y comenta con la palabra invertir en cualquiera de nuestras publicaciones y así te mandamos la liga a este entrenamiento.
Muchísimas gracias por habernos escuchado. Nos vemos en el siguiente. Escucha un episodio nuevo de Real Estate Talks cada semana
en tu plataforma favorita para escuchar podcasts.
Ponte en contacto con nosotros en lalaygaby.com.